Hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right, good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. Barb, I'm gonna ask you to turn your camera off until we're doing the interview part of this meeting. Thank you. And there's Mr. Tanner. All right, so this is the Board of Directors meeting for Desert Marigold School. Formal name is the Valley of the Sun Waldorf Education Association, Inc. So this is our May 5th meeting. It's the board's meeting. So we have a number of people who will be joining us tonight. Those people are joining us at the board's invitation. And so it's, like I said, our meeting. So unless you've been invited to join, unfortunately, you can't participate. That doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. If you're in one of the 18 people in the audience this evening, then please, reach out to us in other ways. You can email us, board@desertmarigold.org, or each of our individual email addresses are also on the website. All right, with that said, I'll say the opening verse and get started, and we'll run through the agenda. All right, the true aim of education is to awaken real powers of perception and judgment in relation to life and living, for only such an awakening can lead to true freedom. And that's from Rudolf Steiner. All right, so I am Gregory Schneider. I am the board president, and let's go around and introduce ourselves, starting with April.
April Sauer, board secretary.
And Danielle.
Danielle Martinez, board member.
And Dan.
Dan Franks, board treasurer.
And Mr. Tanner.
John Tanner, board member.
And Mr. Maurizio.
Hello, everybody. Frank Marizio, Executive Director.
Very good. And we'll get to the other folks on this call or on the Zoom here in a bit. Kirsten, oh, she can't hear me right now. All right, so we've got a few things to roll through tonight. We're going to talk about a few budgetary matters. We're going to hear from Michelle Kratzer and Parent Council about what's going on there. We are going to hear from Frank about updates about the school and anything else we need to know. We'll touch briefly on COVID-19 and anything we need to talk about there. And then we'll spend some time this evening doing a second round of interviews for those applying to join the board and then voting on their candidacy and welcoming our new members. And then finally, there are a few matters I want to talk about as a board and some procedural issues we'll think about. All right, so with that said, let's jump right into it. Budget and finance is the first thing on our agenda. So Danielle, could you tell us about the Maypole replay and trivia night? And before you do, let me just give you a big thank you on behalf of the board for organizing that, for making the videos happen, for recruiting someone who was able to bring together the families on that evening. It was a lot of fun and something that it had been so long since we had something like that in our community. So thank you. And with that said, tell us all about it.
Well, thanks to everyone who helped. I had a lot of support, and it was so endearing to be able to spend some time in the classroom. I was able to record in Miss Falkenberg, so we had the school song going for some of the slideshow. We had their spoken verse to close out the slideshow. We used the Maypole recording from April 30th, of course, that Ms. Schmidt arranged with all the classes, well, most of the classes that were in Eurythmy block. And that was, again, our highlight to showcase. And we did have a lot of parents show up for the event on Friday as well. So it was again, a breath of fresh air, as you mentioned, to be able to come together and be able to do that. And it's just a special time. There's nothing that the recorded could take place of, but we were happy to include those community members that couldn't be there or, for any reason. So it was wonderful, and it was something to build on. It was definitely a learning experience. I was happy to get something rolling. And again, we can use some of that footage for different things. And we had a lot of content. We couldn't load all into one evening. I did have some internet fun issues, so that was great. And we learned a few little hiccups along the way to incorporate it. And we will be working on everyone who registered to have a recording of the video and still be able to register for the event to watch it, to the recorded content. And we'll have it separate with just the Maypole and then, of course, the actual live night. Mary Lynn, who coordinated and ran the games for us and filled in when my internet was shoddy, was discounted her fee, which was really, really a surprise. So it was really nice that she took half of her cost and helped, of course, just to push us forward. I asked a friend to do some of the raffle baskets. And so a lot of those were all of her works, which she does as a side business, and was nice to help promote her and have items that we didn't really have to draw in from the community or tax our members for donation requests. But again, we'd love to, if it was well received, work on something else that we can do, either live and or virtual, or a combination of the few. Who wouldn't like a nice game night just to have fun and no strings attached? I thought that was a nice piece. So I haven't watched the recording yet, but it is available for my viewing, and I'll polish it up so that we have the recording available to everyone. And for the final count, it was $1,125 that we were brought in. And Randy, the video cameraman, was, again, a friend of mine that was able to just come on campus and was so gracious he was available, because we were hoping to have a volunteer, Larry, from the community, but he had a little too much for his workload to be able to pull it off. But it came together very nicely. And at the last minute, Chad Lawson took some extra footage so that it wasn't just a still of the Maypole. We had some different angle views there too.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on a successful evening. Thank you for all the hard work you put into that.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone. Couldn't have done it without everyone's help. Everyone.
So that leads me to the next part of our agenda. How do we keep the momentum going on this? What's our next step in fundraising? How do we take this energy that Danielle and everyone else involved in this created and expand it and keep it going in our community?
I'm happy to do it again. But I know Ms. Schmidt had a Eurythmy performance plan that was canceled, right, because of the pandemic. So if we wanted to showcase that as a gala and evening off campus with maybe dinner and drinks, that would be something to consider.
That sounds like a very interesting idea. I think one of the things that would be great in subsequent events is this past one was wonderful in terms of just engaging people and bringing them there and helping them have fun together. But I think we could make it more of an appeal to like direct donations during the event, future events. So like some of the things I've seen for fundraisers I've been to is, they set a big goal at the beginning of the night. They say, this is what we're going for, make your pledge. And then as the night goes on, they show how the pledges are coming in, and it kind of builds this energy in the room and excitement for those sorts of things. So whatever it is, I think we can do something like that to, so we have a target and it's a little bit more clear, what it is we're trying to raise.
And now that we have something off and rolling and the content we can use, and now I have a whole year to plan out, it would be ideal. And I would like to use one of those platforms where there's a donate button, there's the live raffle option, silent auction, live auction.
Yeah.
So yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, think about it some more, Danielle, and let us know your big ideas in the next few weeks, and we'll see what we can do. All right. So that takes us to our enrollment update. Frank, I know you sent the numbers around. They look really good to me. So good, in fact, I'd like you to just repeat them so our wonderful audience can hear them too. But you're still on mute.
Sorry about that. Yes, as you know, Crystal does those numbers for me before each board meeting, and I kind of cut and paste those for you to see. And I think the really big number to look at is the 304 from a month ago is now up to, I think, 314. Is that what it said? Or 316? Which is fantastic. My only worry is, we gain 60 kids, but will we lose any if people decide they won't come back face to face? I am concerned about that. I know the rule. I am not asking for doing hybrid. Please do not take it that way. I believe we should be all face to face. But I do worry that there are some parents who still just are inching back and wondering if they're ready to do this. I'm just hoping that our summer in the state of Arizona goes very well and our numbers keep going down in COVID, because it would be great to have all 319 on our campus. That would just be an energy that would be awesome to build on. And obviously it would really help our budget to try and utilize that funding for a choir teacher, a strings teacher, a pedagogical director, things like that, that we're all saying are very important. So yeah, I'm really happy with the 319. We'll just keep pushing it. Crystal keeps calling those families to finish their paperwork. Yeah, I'm just excited about it. And I know Crystal's working hard. Let's just hope we can to get to it and at least get to 300. 300 would be just remarkable. So
it really would, especially if that's because I think we were thinking it was the 300 ADM or more that it was going to be, which would truly be a phenomenal difference to our funding from the state.
Yes. Greg, have you heard anything on, has the governor made any leads to the per pupil funding is going to increase or decrease? And what about the prop that passed? Was it 1, 2, 3? Is that getting delivered to us this summer, or is that still in litigation? I haven't heard anything, and I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I just don't know. I think, I was surprised that when the governor said you're going to be back in person by March 15th. And so, I'm not sure what his plans are, and I haven't heard anything specifically. And also, you mentioned something about the rule for the fall. Have you heard something about there is no hybrid requirement for the fall, or?
I have heard that the governor made an executive order that says, unless you had a license for online learning prior to COVID, you may not offer online learning in the fall. With the exception being, if the state hits an emergency and has to order everybody back to all online learning, then all schools can offer all online learning. But in the fall, hybrid is out of the question unless you were a school that had online learning license, like a Pinnacle.
Right. Okay.
But schools like us and ALA would not be allowed to offer hybrid if the ruling was everyone should be back in school.
Got it. Okay. That's good to have that clarity. I'm wondering if that's something that we should send a community-wide message about as we near the end of the year or shortly after.
I think I'm going to send out some type of a survey to see where do our families stand, how many are considering coming back in the fall, and how many would only come back if there was an online option, so that I have some numbers to report to you. And LDC was the one that suggested that, and it's actually a really good idea. So I'm going to do that probably early next week.
Okay. I think we should make clear in that survey, though, that based on the executive order, we won't be offering an online.
I agree with you. I'll do that statement at the top and then ask, based upon this, what are you, what's your feeling as a family for the beginning of summer?
Perfect. All right. All right, so that takes us to the next item on our agenda. It seems you were all signing the revised budget as this meeting was getting going. So thank you for doing that. So that is now in Monique's hands to submit to the state. So that's taken care of. And and action items. So yes, we have our annual audit. April has taken care of the list of current board members, and April will need to update that with the results of tonight's election too before we submit it, because it's the board as of the end of our fiscal year in June of this year. And then it looked like there was some paperwork that we need about, changes that have been made. I don't think there are any changes that have been made on that. And then they also need to know who our lawyers are. So I'll take care of getting that information together. And I think that's it. Oh, and the minutes, which April has also gathered. So thank you, April, for being on top of that. But other board members, please get back to April if you haven't already, confirming your address is correct, all of that information. So we can submit that to the auditor in a timely way. All right. Anything else about finance, budget, cash flow that we need to talk about?
No, but I left Laura Heaney out, which was a huge, huge support for the marketing and the online piece. So thank you, Laura.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So let's turn to parent council then. Michelle, you could turn on your camera and join us.
Hello.
So what's the word from parent council?
So I was trying to remember, I think it's been a while since I was on, and I don't think I did an update for the barbecue. It was amazing. Everybody felt so good to be back in. It felt like a community gathering that we normally have. So it was very nice. And all of the students seemed to love it, faculty and everybody. This week we're doing teacher appreciation, and we decided to do it a little bit different this year, where we honor all the teachers as a whole parent council. And then at the end of the year, we'll do the individual class reps will organize something. So we've been doing something every day this week. We did Monday, we did a coffee and tea with some treats in the morning. Tuesday, we did a salad bar or salad and go lunch for all of the teachers. And then today we had a masseuse come in and do massages, and then she'll be back on Friday to do that. And tomorrow they're doing a popsicle ice cream bar type of snack after school. So trying to fit something in every day. The teachers have been loving it and sending amazing messages to us. So we appreciate them, and we really hope that they're feeling our love in this really difficult year. They have done so much, so we appreciate all that they do. And then one final thing. So parent council was asked if we could change our May 11th date, if we were willing and able to. And it looks like we are able to. I talked to a lot of people who normally attend the meeting, and they are willing and able. So that's what we will do. It will be on May 10th, same time, same link, and all of that stuff. So I think that's it.
Michelle, on behalf of the board, thank you to you and to parent council for all of that hard work and bringing all of those good things into the school for our community and most recently for the teachers. I can tell Mr. Tanner looks more relaxed than usual this evening. Good job. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're trying to incorporate, as much as we can, the flowers from the maypole. Those were donated from Trader Joe's, and we actually did a flower crown kit for all of the remote learners. So they were really excited. Most of them that I was able to talk to were really excited about that. So we're happy to help and try and make as many people feel included as possible. So
I want to thank parent council for that. My daughter's been home all year, and Maypole is my favorite event. Most of our events are very solemn and very reverent, and this one is just a celebration, and I love it. And it hurt this year not being there, because I feel like we're so close to being able to be on campus, and it felt wonderful to be acknowledged. And my daughter was so excited to get those flowers and make a crown, and it's definitely appreciated, and I know other parents feel the same way. So thank you, Michelle, and everyone else who helped with that. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you to all of Parent Council. Everybody is putting in their time, so thank you.
Right. Well, thank you again, Michelle. And
Absolutely.
with that, we'll turn the mic over to Mr. Maurizio to let us know the latest about what's going on in the school. We, of course, got your report, but if there's anything you want to highlight for us and for those in the public who are joining us, please go ahead.
Well, let's start with an eventful past 5 days. You've mentioned Maypole and a fundraiser. And then Tuesday was the pentathlon games. And all week has been the parent group with teacher appreciation. Everybody has just been so excited. As you know, I haven't been here that long, and I'm getting to see what they're telling me is this is the reality of what we normally do. And Mrs. Schmidt, my hat is off to her and Miss Hunter. Kudos to Danielle for pulling off the fundraiser. Kudos to Miss Maynard and Mr. Friedman for doing a wonderful job on the pentathlon. And of course, the parent council and what they have done this week to do something each day for the teachers. The massage chair is a huge hit. I get mine on Friday. I can't wait. And it was just very nice that they would take every day, a gift every day. That's remarkable. And I know there's some teachers online watching this right now. As happy as you guys were to receive those things, I need to tell you how excited this parent group was to do this for you. It was genuine excitement. Michelle, Laura, Kirsten, there's so many others that were involved. And then the big highlight of the whole week that I saw was how many parents showed up for these events with their lawn chairs and just wanted, it's in the middle of the day and they're taking time off of their busy day to come support their children and our staff. And that's just remarkable. That was a really good feeling. It's been a really good week. Just awesome. Everything went well this week. Very pleased to say that. Second announcement has to do with our online component and our in-person component. You see those numbers changed. I think we're down to 38 or 39 online from 45 last week. So each or every 2 weeks, we seem to be coming down 4, 5, 6 students with more people joining us. And that's a really good sign too. We're very happy about that. Then you saw the report on possible enrollments for next year, up to as many as 316 or 318. The numbers are a little jumbled in my head, but I know it's higher than it was 2 weeks ago, and that makes us happy as well. And that includes the preschool program. We're now up to, I think it's 9 or 10 that have already completed their packet, with 6 or 7 more that were waiting for that paperwork to be completed. That would put us at 16 or 17, which is way over where we are this year. I think we're at 7 right now. And so that would be nice to have that program very healthy, and it would be able to sustain itself. As you know, that's what we really want it to do in the money we bring in. I'm trying to think real fast. A couple of other simple announcements. I've sent you some information on our bid for our health insurance for our employees. Some of you emailed back going, wow, this is really good news. As you know, I've never seen a year where insurance costs go down. And if we stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield, which we still might, because there's some other questions that'll be asked coming up, but even staying with them is almost an 8% increase. And to switch to United Healthcare and to be part of the new conglomerate of 7 or 8 charter schools that they finally are allowing in the state of Arizona, small schools to band together and join the same insurance company. we could save between 20 and 25%. That is just remarkable. I think there was a bold line on the bottom for you guys to see of a savings to the district of a little over $50,000. I'll give Murphy and Holmes some credit. They know from day one when I called them, I said, I want this. You got to get this. And they've been working, and they're not done because I have not shown you the dental, life insurance, and vision, which is also coming down, but they had to do a last minute ad to make sure orthodontistry was in the dental. And so they won't have that till Monday, but I will send that to you as well. LDC is looking at this with me, and we will probably send it out to the staff for their eyes pretty soon so that they can see and I can get some feedback from them of, yeah, this looks good, or no, I don't know. I'm worried about leaving my doctors. As you know, that can happen when you change plans. There's no automatic guarantee you get your same doctor. So I'm going to seek feedback on that. But the initial thing that they're telling us, this is a good plan. We're going to take a serious look at it, and I'll keep you posted on that.
Excellent news all around. One question I have, based on the fact that we have our auditor coming fairly soon, is one of the things he's looking for is proof of insurance through the current school year, which we have, obviously. And I think that's insurance covering the school, not the faculty and staff. So have you started a conversation with our broker about insurance for the next school year yet?
Yes, it's done. That is also Holmes and Murphy, or Murphy and Holmes. I always forget which one's first. We have the health insurance plan with them, and then we have the liability for the school and the buildings and the assets. And that got renewed Friday afternoon, as Monique and I have been talking, and Jessica as well, with our rep there, because I wasn't going to commit to them if I wasn't going to stay with Holmes and Murphy as our broker for everything. But Holmes and Murphy has given us a fair situation here. So I'm leaning towards, yeah, okay, we'll stay with you, and we'll go ahead and send the paperwork in. I think Jessica's already started the paperwork to pay because it was due in the next 2 days or so. And that's a renewal for next school year.
Perfect. Very good. All right. Board members, any questions? All right.
You're doing great. Good
Thank
job, Frank.
Yeah.
I was
Thank you.
cheering when I read that email. I was so excited to see that. And I just wanted to say, just based on your experience this past 5 days, as you said, welcome to DMS. This is who we are, and I'm excited that you get to see who we are.
You know, Rachel, when I was congratulating her on such a wonderful job, because she immediately ran up to me and said, well, what did you think? What did you think? And I said, you know what, Rachel? Let's do it again next Friday. She almost passed out. So yeah, it's a great experience when you add those things in to a normal day, and they spread out normally. And look, no one ever came to school just for geometry. I didn't. It's all the other stuff that is really helpful in a child's life, that makes it fun and makes learning exciting. And so that's fantastic. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Frank. It's truly good work on many fronts.
You're welcome.
Right. So, anything we need to talk about on COVID-19? We touched a little bit on having a hybrid. We can't have a hybrid under the latest executive order. So we're all in person unless the state shuts everybody down. So anything currently going on with the school and COVID-19 we need to discuss? It sounds like it's been moving along fairly smoothly for the last couple of months almost now.
Well, we're doing the best to follow our protocols. As you know, occasionally a student takes a mask off, and we try and get that mask on right away. A parent might enter campus once in a while and forget, and we just have to remind them, and they will put it back on. But we are continuing the day porter through the rest of this month. I just met with Plan B, the company, to tell them we will stop for June and July, and I will get back to him if we decide to continue it in August. But we won't do the day porter over the summer, of course, because there's no kids here. And he understood that. He actually made the appointment with me to start talking about the summer. And of course, I've scheduled the carpet cleanings for the summer as well, and the tile cleanings in the bathroom. Some of those deep clean issues that you have to do each summer so the campus is prepared when the kids come back. But no, I would say we're moving right along, and in some ways it's hard to believe that there's only 3 weeks left. And then in some, on the other hand, I know all of schools in Arizona are like, okay, 3 more weeks through this year.
All right. Well, I mean, I think we'll all be happy when this year is in the rearview mirror for a variety of reasons. It's been a tough one on many fronts, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to all the parents for being flexible. Thank you to Frank and everyone else in the admin for helping navigate shifting policies that are not clear by any means. Operating in that gray area a lot of the time, dealing with the many concerns that come up. But I think really most importantly, that this year has been just brutally hard on our teachers. So, thank you to you all specifically for such a, tremendous amount of hard work and having to shift the curriculum several different times in the learning format, and putting in all of the extra hours to make that happen. It's just goes to show the level of skill you have as educators on the one hand, and on the other, your commitment to our school and to our children on the other. So really can't thank you enough. And you've done wonderful work this year, as hard as it's been. So we truly appreciate it. All right. So that takes us to our board recruitment section of the evening. And we have with us Barb Cunningham, Nellie Grossenbacher, Kirsten Kubina, and Adeline Carrera. I see the participant. I'm going to promote her to panelist right now. And if our candidates could all turn on their cameras. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here again. Good to have you. So I'm going to open it up now. The format this evening is much less structured. It's not structured like our interviews were a couple of weeks ago. So this is truly just meant to be an open-ended. Board members, you can ask questions. Candidates, you can ask questions in return, anything that's come up over the last couple of weeks, anything you want to ask about. It's truly meant to be an open-ended discussion. I'd like to keep it to 30 minutes if we can. And so we don't take all night. I know we did talk about the school into the wee hours of the morning, but we all have many other things on our plates. So with that said, board members, let's start with you all first. Any additional questions that you'd like to ask of the candidates?
Okay. I would like to ask each one of you, please, on a specific area. Where do you feel you would be most helpful?
You want to tell them in which order you want them to answer, Danielle? So.
Alphabetically,
Adeline first.
by first name.
I was wondering, is it my first name? I used to be Adeline Archuleta, so I could never win that one. I was always first. Okay, so where do you feel I would, or where do I
One
feel
specific
that I would
area
be
that you would
helpful?
feel you'd be most helpful?
Probably keeping the positivity. My household will tell you I am a positive person. I'm always looking on the brighter side of things. And so I think that's going to be it. And then my ability and my willingness to be a part of a team that works together, maybe plays together. Because I think if we're having a good time doing the work, then it'll be that much more fruitful. So probably a bit of that. I think I've said it before. I love organizing things. So being a part of this group, I'm sure there'd be a lot of lists and things, and I love lists. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Barb, I think you're next, but you're on mute.
Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity tonight for the second interview. I really, as you may know, I'm extremely passionate about Waldorf education and shouting it from the rooftops. I would love to help, I would love to help with the service mark. Obviously, I told you that last time. I love parent education. I loved arranging to have speakers come, and we went on field trips and things like that. But I would love to have something more formal at our school for bringing education to our community, our parents, our teachers, our extended community members. And, I would love to see our community come back together. I would also love to, if there isn't something in place, really help organize our alumni and alumni parents. And I feel like that's really been untapped in our community. For one, I'm going to assume since I was in the high school, there was never enough hands to coordinate those kinds of things, but I would be happy to volunteer to do those kinds of things. So I'm passionate about the high school and I'm passionate about our school. So I would love to help market in whatever way is best for our school. I really feel, and I've said to many people, that education about what we're doing at our school would probably be enough to market itself.
Thank you.
Oh, you're on mute, Kristen. Somehow. I know you're not on mute, but your mic's not on.
Should we give you a moment?
Try speaking again, Kristen.
I can hear you. Let me see.
We can hear you now.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
I jump from a lot of different platforms throughout the day, and Teams always screws me up. Sorry about that. So for me, I'm a doer. I prefer to work on projects, and I'm very task oriented. So I like to just have that list that Adeline puts together and then just start checking off the boxes. So I think I would prefer to, I'd prefer to, kind of jump in and wherever there's hands needed, you take care of those things. if I can add a B onto my answer, I also enjoy finding ways to increase revenue and decrease costs. It's a bit of a passion of mine, a little bit of a dorky passion, I suppose, but so that's also very interesting to me to be able to, help even come up with ideas or help support ideas that are already in flight.
Thank you. No.
Okay, Nelly? Oh, your mic's off as well. I know.
Oh,
Can you say talk again?
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I feel that the Waldorf community is a huge part in making a Waldorf school happen, and I am fully committed to building a community and fundraising and making sure that the events that we're bringing the community together and also bringing money back into the school is where I will excel at. I'm very good at pulling crowds together, bringing money in, getting supplies that need to be made or utilized during events. Sometimes that's a struggle, is just being able to find supplies, tables, chairs, lighting, stuff like that. And I think that being able to sit on building community events and making a full Waldorf experience for all of our kids that are in school happen. I've told Frank that whatever we need, because I have 4 kids that are, in the middle school right now that I want to put through high school, whatever we need to make their experience, whether it's staying after to create disc golf teams or shuffle kids, if we want to build a tennis team or a golf team, that I'm there to build these experiences so that our kids can have the full scope of the community of a Waldorf education.
Thank you. That was all my question. It's been sort of a tradition of mine to ask all of the applicants to toot your own horn. What's your favorite, best thing you've accomplished at Desert Marigold?
Oh, Adeline, you're on mute.
That would be me, alphabetical. Well, I wish I could say I did something recently, but I really want to toot my own horn in how we knocked out that Halloween carnival 2 years ago. I rallied our class parents, 9 through 12, and we were having coffee mornings and getting it all, the logistics of the food down and getting prizes figured out, who's going to make what and who's going to commission what from someone somewhere else, that was kind of our thing. We kind of, as parents, took on the food and prizes, and the kids pretty much did everything else. So that was most helpful, but I was super proud of us for bringing that food around, and the prizes were a super hit. I think we sold out near close to the end of the night. And it just felt so good to get that group together. And then because of that, we saw other parents that just were like, yes, I want to be involved. Let's do this. It was like, I hadn't seen that in high school yet, since my daughter was a 9th and that she was 10th grade that year. So it was great to see that happen.
Well, I do feel very proud of the Humble Hive and the speakers that we were able to showcase, and the art teachers that came and did art for us, or field trips we went on. I thought it did a great job building community. But honestly, if I would have to say what I would feel is my most favorite success at our school would be the high school graduation that we had with the kids that came back from Europe. I don't know what year it was, maybe 2 years ago. As you could imagine, being a young school, starting from scratch, like Mr. Martin did, to watch the magic happen and to not lose hope or focus, and how every year you watch it got a little bit tighter, a little bit better, a little bit more cohesive. People started really harmonizing together as a cohesive team. And then when that graduation happened, there was a moment that, Michael and I knew we had done it. We had literally watched the high school come up out of its toddler stage, and our faculty knowing how amazing they were and what they were bringing. And to hear those seniors, there were about 3 speeches that night that they had written themselves coming back from Europe, which was an amazing trip for them. I could have died that night. I mean, really, they were the surety that they spoke with, it was like that was it. That was the culmination. So for me, I guess it was to be able to have put so much love along with the high school faculty into building an amazing high school. And that was it for me, I'd have to say.
Mine's in the same vein as Barb and Adeline. It's being able to bring my own magic to the school. I'm on parent council. I like to do animal care and garden work days. So all of those things I'm active in. And I think the biggest thing for me is actually the smallest impacts that you can make. So while Teacher Appreciation Week is a big week and it took a lot of hands and a lot of effort, I think being able to turn that one person's day into something that's better or just happy is great. Or just being able to do little things around campus, like there's a deflated tetherball and just picking up a new one and putting it on, and it not having to be a big thing or big to do. I think that's kind of my biggest contributions.
Well, being that we have only been here this school year and we've spent a lot of time this school year not on campus, it's, I don't have many accomplishments yet to say, that can cross over through many years. But I think for me, making myself known and being a presence and having the administration and my children's teachers knowing that I'm an active parent, I'm an active community member. I've, was there at 7:15 on Tuesday morning to help make sure the pentathlon was there, and I stayed until the last thing was cleaned up so that the teacher could depend on me. I have had, I've orchestrated outside events where I've invited community members to, and we've had upwards of about 30 people at some of the events. So being a newcomer, I made it sure that I wasn't, I didn't stand by the side, and that I came in to build a community for my friends and for my children, and to include other people that I don't even, that I know now, but I didn't know before, feel welcome even though I was the newcomer. You know, it was just about building people back into getting back together in a year of craziness.
Thank you, everybody. I was wondering, to everyone as well, how will you balance and prioritize work on the board against your personal lives? I know everyone has kids and responsibilities, a lot of stuff going on, and I was curious how everyone plans on handling that. Yeah.
Can we go reverse alphabetical disorder this time?
Yeah, if you want, that's fine.
That's fine. I stated this the last time. I'm still unemployed, and so I have the time and the commitment. Once I know that I need to schedule and make the times to be at the board meetings and be a more active role. You know, we moved 3,000 miles to be here to put our kids specifically in this school. So my husband and I have kind of made an agreement that one of us will be on hand to make sure that the school knows that we're here to help facilitate in whatever needs to be done. So I'm the lucky winner.
So that's a really great question, Dan. You know, kids, jobs, everything else. For me, my only outside activity is DMS. You know, it's kind of, that's where my friends are. That's, you know, what I do for fun. I'm in the garden, I'm scooping poop. So it feels very natural for me to make extra space to do the board, and I'm making jokes, but it's not a commitment I've taken lightly. I've thought about applying for the board for a couple of times, and I just, with the timing of things and work and all those other things, I knew I wasn't going to be able to fully commit. So I feel like now I'm in a place, and I understand what the commitment's going to be, that I would be able to easily make that balance.
I too feel the same way. I've gone to many board meetings over the last decade, and you know, some more than a few people have asked me why I never ran for the board. And at the time, I was working at the school, and I had a big family and a very needy family, and it just wasn't something that I knew that I would be able to give what I feel like the time that it would take. And so now with my son getting ready to graduate, as I've said, he's a senior, and I have many grandchildren. I just found out we're having another one today, as a matter of fact. This really is a legacy for our family. All the love and attention that we've put into this community was for the long haul. So I think that, as I actually think for a lot of alum parents, that it really is a great way to consider giving back to the community. Once your children have left, you've got great experience and wisdom. Try and get on the board.
Well, my son has to go to bed at some time. And he does have an early bedtime at that. Also, I have at least one teenage daughter now living at home that will always be there for me too. So I don't think there'll be an issue with time. I'm also not working as well. But, you know, moms, we're like the CEO of families. We wear many hats. And we just find time. It's strange, but we'll find time. So I really don't think there'll be an issue. And it's because of, Waldorf education is in my heart, and this school is now a part of my family, and I want to, do whatever I can to help out anywhere I can.
Cool, thank you. I'd like to call out that not being employed by somebody isn't not working. All these stay-at-home moms and dads are working very hard. So I still think there's a time and prioritization and a balance that you still have to juggle, even though you don't have like a paid employment.
So, and Dan, thank you for that comment. That couldn't be more true. Let me follow up on that by asking, the scope of responsibilities for the board is in some ways narrow and in some ways broad. So like in the limited sense, we're responsible for the legal and financial integrity of the school. And in kind of the broader sense, we steer the direction of, making sure it's a Waldorf school that we have here and making sure that that vision is getting executed. So obviously there are different ways that can happen. And everybody has different skill sets and ways to contribute to, making that dream a reality. So if for whatever reason you were not selected to be a member of the board tonight, would you still be willing to contribute your skill sets and all of these things you told us that you want to do and you're willing to do for the school in the future, even if it's not on the capacity as a board member? And we'll start in the middle this time. So we'll start with Kirsten, and then Barb, and then Adeline, and then Nellie.
Simply, of course. I'm already involved in a multitude of ways. I love the way that I'm involved in the school, and if I don't, if this doesn't work on the board for me this time, it's certainly not going to turn me off to, what's in my heart, which is the school.
And again, I totally agree with Kirsten. If this is not the right time for my skills to be of service to the board, I love helping our school grow, and I 100% would volunteer in whatever capacity is needed, and Gregory, I shared this with you when we had our interview before these interviews started, that, I got to see a lot of the inner workings of the high school and over the 8 years of what works and what doesn't work. And I would be happy to share what I've gleaned from that. And I love parent education. And I would love for, DMS to be the hub that it always was as far as Waldorf education in the state of Arizona. So if there's a way that I could help bring that back there, I'm all for that, to volunteer for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Yeah, I'll still be around. Gavin's starting first grade next year, so I'm not going anywhere. And I will always be helping. I know I'll be finishing up as a class rep for Emma's class, but I'm already trying to get my hands on that first grade teacher because I want to see if that first grade teacher is going to need help getting acclimated to our school and feeling welcomed. So we don't even know who it is yet, and I'm already getting ideas and making my lists of what we can do for the the start of this journey he's going to be on for 1st through 8th. I know that if I don't make it here, I'm going to try even at Parent Council again. I did hold office there once. So I kind of have my own something there as well. And maybe it'll be in the realm of helping bring that parent education back to light for you, Barb. I would love that.
I 100% would be committed. I'm committed to my kids and seeing them through a Waldorf education. And whether I'm on the board, that's fine, but I'm committed to making sure that they're provided the education that I started them with, you know, in their parent-child classes 13 years ago. You know, us Waldorf, any Waldorf parent can tell you that we're hardcore and we're committed to this. Whether we're in administration, whether we're a teacher or a parent walking on the campus. Sorry, it makes me cry. So, you know, the commitment level of any true Waldorf parent is high. And I told Frank, I apologized that I send him so many emails because I'm already committed to making sure that I see that they have every experience that they're supposed to have. And, you know, I'm committed. I moved my family 3,000 miles away because this school goes through high school, and that's really, really special to find a Waldorf school that's a public charter Waldorf school that goes through high school. And I'm committed to making sure that I see my kids through it in the correct style of Waldorf education. So I'm all in, whether I'm all in the board or just all in the parking lot, I'm all in.
Thank you. Well, let me turn it over to you, candidates. What questions do you have for us? What's come up over the last couple of weeks? What can we tell you?
Well, if I can just tell Nellie, I'm so grateful you're here. I'm grateful you and your family trekked that 3,000 miles to be at our school. And so I'm happy you're here. And I was happy to have been able to meet you.
I have something to say. I just wonder, and I guess I'll pose this question to Gregory. But, you know, I first of all love the fact that there are so many active community members that are running for the board. I hear most of us, except for Kirsten, but she is of the community as well, obviously. We're talking a lot about community. And I just wanted to point out that, you know, there are so many subtle differences about what we're talking about. And even though it might sound like, and I don't want to assume that it sounds like we're all saying the same thing, they're very different. Like I could say, you know, Nellie, you know, what she is talking about is very different than what I'm talking about. And it's so super important that we have somebody that wants to work that angle. And we have so many great people in our community that work that particular angle. You know, you have what Kirsten does with the animals and the dirt and the garden, which is amazing. We need those people. That's not my love language. I do something different. So, you know, I hope that you could see that we are all actually wanting to bring a different facet of this diamond of our community. And I would hope that you would think that perhaps just taking one of us would like check off that box of, community, the healthy social life, and realize that it is a little bit different, each angle that we're bringing and the angle that Adeline's talking about. So anyways, I just wasn't sure, Gregory, if you, I didn't want to assume that you thought that perhaps we were all coming from the same platform, because to me, it definitely seems very different.
No, I did not take it as you're all saying the same thing at all.
Oh, awesome.
So I heard different messages from each of you, and it's been really wonderful to hear all the different angles, like you say, the ideas. I've said it before and I'll say it again, our community and the four of you are representative of that community in many ways, is the school's biggest asset. The investment you get from community members who all want to make this place great is you just don't get that in many places. So the fact that we have that is just wonderful. And the fact that it's almost an embarrassment of riches, right? We have so many people with so many ideas that we want to make happen. The hard part is, well, which ones do we pick and how do we do it with our limited resources? So, I definitely don't hear you all saying the same thing.
I have a question, Greg. When you first asked your question, it came in a little jumbled for me. So when you're asking if we have any questions for you guys?
Yeah.
I just have a quick question, and this will be the third time I say it in this conversation, and then I'll never mention it again. So I apologize. Desert Marigold is a small Waldorf community. And I was in a Waldorf community in New York, and I always knew that I was going to continue to send my kids to a Waldorf school. And I traveled to Austin to look at Waldorf schools, and upstate New York to look at Waldorf schools, and North Carolina to look at Waldorf schools. And I hope that as a board, you guys, and if I get on there or the continuing board, can look outside the box to build our community, to recruit other families that are passionate about Waldorf, because most times, we will move. We will uproot our families if we feel that there's the opportunity that will afford us the opportunity to provide a Waldorf education. And for Desert Marigold to be a charter school in this beautiful state that has no snow in the winter, to go from preschool all the way through high school is really almost unheard of in the country. And there's got to be a way. There is a way, and it has to, I feel like if we were to promote ourselves nationally, that we could build our school to where it was and where we want it to be. Because I put my kids' names on the list to come here actually 3 or 4 years ago, but they were like number 35, and which you'll never get in at number 35. And we were fortunate enough to get in this year with so many changes. And I'm grateful for that. And I just feel that as, the board and the administration could reach such a broader community if you guys can sell yourselves nationwide on the different Waldorf platforms. Because most families, when there's one kid, there's 2 or 3 kids that they're bringing with them. And that will help bring our community up to where you guys want it to be. So do you guys have plans to build it more outside of the Phoenix metro area?
So none currently is the short answer. but you raise a great point, and I think it's worth considering how we would do that. And one of my long-term ideals for the school is to have a development director who would focus on exactly these kinds of questions of how do we cast a bigger net and convince people this is the place to be, whether they're in California or New York or Delaware or Tennessee, that it's worth coming out to visit and probably worth moving here because we truly, like you say, have something unique. That said, we are just right now kind of poised to figure out what's next in our growth. We've kind of come out of the winter of our school life in many ways. It's spring and things are blooming and wonderful, and we're having festivals again. And financially, our ship is in pretty good shape. So it's really a matter of how do we choose how to do that. But do we have concrete plans right now? No, we don't. But I think we need to hire someone who can be in charge of exactly that kind of thing.
Can we reach out to community members before we hire somebody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, not that it would be throwing money away, but if we could reach out to members to just put our tentacles out there, and I'm speaking for myself because I paid New York Metro tuition for years, and I had to pull pennies out of every corner of my couches to pay. And to have a quality school, and it's a beautiful campus. Desert Marigold has a beautiful, beautiful campus that just encapsulates Waldorf. And it's an attractive campus. It's an amazing community. And I think that we could build the school, and there are other families like me. There are families like me that just, especially coming off years of not being able to work, that would love the break of bringing quality Waldorf families into the community. That's all I have to say. Sorry, and I'll help.
Very good. Adeline.
Is it appropriate I can ask Frank a question?
You can.
It relates to what Nellie was talking about.
Yeah, I think we'd like you to keep it to questions of the board.
Okay.
That's for tonight, but
because I know with our bylaws, it is not our job to do marketing and outreach as a board. I know that once upon a time, we actually had someone in our administration that did that job. So it just, my question is involving, will we ever hire someone like that?
It seems like the development director you're just talking about, right? That it'd be nice to potentially have someone like that. And we have talked about improving and increasing marketing efforts. But like Gregory has said, we haven't settled on any concrete plans yet. We've just started conversations around it now that financially the school is doing better.
Yes, but my knowledge of what a pedagogical director is or a curriculum director is they are there for the teachers. They are not there to and to help families coming in, but I don't think their job is to go out and pull people in, is it?
Development director is different than the pedagogical director.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying. I thought they were the same. That's a good clarification.
I've got a question. And I'd like to, if I could, Mr. Tanner, pick on you. We haven't heard a whole lot from you, and I don't know you very well, so I'd love to ask you a question specifically. And that would be, what do you feel like makes someone very useful and successful as a board member?
I think you have to keep to the business of the board, which are financial and legal issues. And you have to be completely confidential in all of your communications. There's no outside talk, there's no Facebooking, there's no anything. The school has to be protected, and that's the board's job.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. Well, we've exchanged questions on both sides, and we've been going for a little more than half an hour, and I'm hoping to keep this here. So unless anyone else has a last-minute burning question, I think we're going to proceed to the voting part.
I have one last question.
Go for it, April.
Specific to Barb. In our previous interview, there was a question regarding conflict of interest. I know you've been heavily involved in a website that says some pretty inflammatory things about DMS. Can you speak to that in regards to how it isn't a conflict of interest? I know there's a lot of concern about that.
You're on mute, Barb, still.
Well, I guess, first of all, I'm not really sure what you are describing as inflammatory. To my knowledge, it was taken directly out of board minutes. And just putting it in I think the original intention of that website was, and if we go back to the time when the website was built, we were, it definitely felt like our ship was going under, to the point that, in December of that year, they were asking us to bring toilet paper in, and we just weren't really sure what was happening. And I think the original intention was that it would be a space, almost a life raft for people that felt like they were floating in the water, and DMS was not a home for them, and families that really were trying to make heads and tails of what was happening. The intention was it would be a kind of a one-stop shop where, to my knowledge, nobody is telling you what to think about it, but here is information where you could do your own research and decide for yourself if what you were being told was true. So, and any comments that have ever come in, I believe that there is always a closing comment that if you see anything that is false, it would be immediately corrected. So to say that it was a conflict of interest, I think that's a fair question. I personally don't see it as a conflict of interest because as of late, or as of, for some measurable amount of time, the focus has kind of changed to just educating the community on Waldorf-inspired things of the core principles, and interviews of people to help educate community members on anthroposophy for one, and Waldorf and parent education. So in my mind, I don't see that as a conflict of interest. But I could see that it might be felt that it is. I can understand that.
Well, Barb, thanks for that explanation. All right, so last call. Any last questions, Dan? Your box lit up on my screen. All right. Okay, so board members, you should have in your inbox a ballot in the form of a Google form. And the way this will work is you'll go to the Google form and you'll vote yes or no on each of our candidates. And then we'll tally the results and I'll announce them along with the way the voting went for each candidate. So let's take a 5-minute break for everybody to vote, and we'll reconvene at 8 o'clock and announce the results.
I should have asked you first if we had to put a password in.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for your patience. Just trying to organize the results from the Google form in a way that was a little easier to announce how we all voted, since that must be public under the open meeting laws. All right, so I am pleased to announce that Kirsten Kubina and Nellie Grossenbacher have been elected new members of the board. Unfortunately, that also means Adeline and Barb, you were not elected this time around. Please don't take that to mean we didn't like your ideas or we don't think you're valuable to the school. We very much look forward to the both of you contributing in many ways, and you had great ideas, to be candid, and I really look forward to working with you and seeing those implemented in some capacity. So please don't take this too harshly. You know, you guys are a wonderful part of our community, and we thank you for applying and for taking the time to be here a couple of weeks in a row. So thank you. So Kirsten and Nellie, welcome. And we have a lot of stuff for you to do as board members. We're excited to get to work with you, and there's a lot of paperwork that I'm going to send to you in a little bit. You're going to have to fill out. If you don't already have a fingerprint clearance card, we're going to need you to get that on file pretty quick. It's a fairly quick process, but you have to apply through the state. There's also some amendments we have to do to various regulators that we have to make sure you are officially members of the board in that capacity. And so you can expect an email from me with a lot of attachments in the near future. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And so for the rest of this meeting, you're kind of provisional board members, so you can talk and you can participate, but you can't vote. Not that we have a whole lot left to vote on this evening anyway. All right, so with that said, I need to announce how we all voted for the record. So Kirsten was elected unanimously. Barb was not elected by a vote of 4-1, with Danielle voting yes in favor of electing Barb and everyone else voting no. Adeline was unanimously not elected to the board. And Nellie, you were elected by a 4-1 vote with Mr. Tanner voting no. April, I'll send you this summary spreadsheet too to help with your note taking. All right, so with that said, congratulations again, Kirsten and Nellie. And let's move along to the last part of our board meeting. So I'm sure Barb will be pleased to hear the next thing on our agenda is a discussion of ways to improve board education on Waldorf philosophy and anthroposophy. You know, board members, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on how we can improve our own education on a continual basis. We had I thought, a great meeting with Liz Bevan. That's been a while ago. Dan, you sent around an email with an idea you had. Do you want to share what that was again and see if we can think of a way to implement it?
Which idea you're referring to? The one about the supplies list on the website that we're working on? Or
no, about board education. And I think you had something about 15 minutes of that we could spend a meeting about.
Yes, it was my idea. It was just that the community, there seems to be some ambiguity about the community's knowledge around our commitment to Waldorf and I always had such a hard time with the word emphasis. I can't say it right now. But I suggested that we potentially every meeting or every couple meetings or whatever have someone from the board speak to something that they've been learning or reading or engaged in, and to learn more about Waldorf. Like I'm reading the Waldorf Education Family Guide book, for example, and listening to the Waldorfy podcast when I drive my kids home from school. It's a fantastic podcast, by the way, if people are interested in it. But just kind of stuff like that. I thought that might be a nice way for community to know that we are committed, and also get insights into ways they can learn as well. So.
I like that idea, and because like you say, it's a way to show our commitment, but it's also a way to share resources that people might not be aware of. Any other thoughts on how we could have a continuing education for the board?
I sent this earlier, I think this week, to Dan, but previously, since we got Liz Bevan to speak, I had sent out probably a year ago, just kind of a bare bones plan of different topics that we could learn about and have speakers. And where we kind of got clogged up was, who do we ask to come visit to speak to us, and preferably for free and for a short amount of time, since we're at board meetings. So I'm happy to pick that up again. If anyone has any suggestions, that's where I feel just a bit stuck. But, I'm happy to talk to Liz Bevan again and see if she has any suggestions, or if you have any suggestions, you want to share them. I'm happy to make those cold calls and send emails, because I'd love to have a mixture of both. I'd love to have people come in and educate us. And I like Dan's idea about sharing resources too. I think that's great.
So April, could you circulate that list to everybody again? A year ago, that feels like 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was a plan in the works for someone to come speak to us about fundraising as well. And I've been contacting that person for about a year. But yeah, it's just a list of ideas and like a template for dates and who will contact who. But yeah, I'm happy to send that around, and we can fill it out and use it or not use it.
Perfect. So, Nellie, something you said about broadening our influence in the Waldorf community gave me an idea, which is, there are Waldorf educators all over the country. It's not hard to invite people to a Zoom meeting to speak for 15 or 20 minutes on some aspect of Waldorf education that they're particularly focused on. So I'm wondering if we could start reaching out to other schools and asking for that sort of thing, just as a way of making connections on the one hand, and potentially that would feed into Frank's what Frank is working on, is building a summer training program for Waldorf educators at our school and other schools around the state, and possibly other parts of the country too.
And Gregory, with Parent Council already doing a book club, perhaps we can match the book that they're on, or have a discussion about a few pages with not reading out loud, but just discussion on any topics that struck our attention or something that we resonated with.
I like it.
And there's also a list of the meditative practices. Perhaps we incorporate that into a daily life and maybe talk about how that's been affecting or not affecting our day-to-day.
All good ideas. So, other thoughts? All right,
Mr. Tanner, were you was Mr. Tanner, are you open to leading something or with your area of expertise or doing something as well?
Certainly, I think any one of us could take up a topic and introduce it for, say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, probably no more than 15 minutes, but something just to get the wheels turning. And Danielle, you're perfectly capable of leading a conversation, so I would appreciate all of us to lend a hand with that.
Thank you. Love to.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, April, if I could task you with one more thing, if you could send us a list summarizing these ideas, which I hope won't be much more difficult than cutting and pasting from the minutes, then I think we can make a plan for how to implement some of these ideas. Let's all kind of noodle on that over the next couple of weeks. And, if there's something specifically you think you would want to do, feel free to chime in and say, I'm all over this, I got it. If not, we'll see what the discussion in the next couple of weeks looks like. And I'll try and put an agenda item, at least I think we can implement Dan's idea right away. One of us leading a discussion about something that at least that we've learned about or a resource that we know about that we'd like to share. So we'll get that going on our next meeting. All right, April, do you want to walk us through the board calendar for the next school year?
Sure. And I'd also like to volunteer Dan to be the first presenter at our next meeting. He's ready to go.
Sure.
Okay, so I shared in the folder the tentative meeting schedule. Do you want to put that up on the screen, Gregory, or do we just want to talk about it?
I will put it on the screen. I'm going to download it real quick. It's a little easier to share than my browser tab.
So everything is very simple and standard, what we've been doing first and third Wednesdays of every month. The only issue that we might want to discuss is on March 16th. That meeting would happen during our spring break. And there are 2 more weeks in March. So if we all would like spring break off so we could go travel, go somewhere with our families, actually take some time off and rest our brains, we could easily meet the following week in place of that date. So that would be 3/23 instead of 3/16. And that's really the only suggestion I have. All the rest of these are very standard.
I think we should move it to 3/23. I know a lot of people take vacations with their families over those breaks. I'm personally thinking about doing that myself. So I think it would be good to just have that week off.
Gregory, I have a question.
Yeah.
The November meeting on the 17th, is that the day before Thanksgiving or is Thanksgiving the week after?
Great question. Let's find out.
Nope, Thanksgiving is the next week on the 25th.
No one feels July 7th is too close to 4th of July.
Oh,
You know what? We usually end up having extra meetings in July because we're like trying to get the budget approved and through.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That one we might need to take some time to figure out what we want to do if we want to consider moving that. Because there's only 4 weeks in July,
Yeah.
or 4 Wednesdays rather.
Why don't that's a good point, Danielle. Why don't we move that to July 14th and then we'll have the 21st and those can be our budget cleanup meetings since we've in the past, I know we've had to do kind of back-to-back meetings week to week to make sure we're good to go on that.
And are we doing any town halls, or is that too early to start that conversation?
Just a
Um,
separate thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, yes, I want to do those, Danielle. I just don't have a schedule for it yet. All right, let me just. Okay, so this is what we're,
Gregory, just since we're talking about moving that July meeting to the 14th, July 15th is when the budget has to be finalized and adopted. And I know typically Aspire helps us with all that, getting it up on the website and stuff, but that might be a little dicey unless we're just super on top of it and we get it all done in June.
Oh, we've got Kirsten. What else do we need?
what? Well, okay, let me make a yeah, so I mean, I guess the alternative would be July 7th.
June.
And what is our last meeting in June right now?
June is the 16th.
So
That's our last meeting in June. There is a June 30th if we want to do that instead of the 7th.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be adding to, this last, that's on the last day of our fiscal year, but.
Yeah, I think that
April, do you know offhand when the first day of school is?
Yes, I do.
August 11th.
Thank you, Frank.
Yes.
Then I love the
I was
schedule.
1 second behind.
Schedule looks good so far. No Cinco de Mayo, no 4th of July, no Labor Day, no Memorial, no St. Patrick's.
Yeah, it didn't, nothing fell in line with anything that was crazy. I was kind of shocked by that because usually we have to move some stuff around. And I compared it to obviously holiday schedules, but also our, school schedule for next year. And there were no issues.
Thank you, April.
You're welcome.
All right. So if we do June, so we've got June 16th of this year, we do June 30th, and then July 14th. I think that's I'm really hoping that will be enough budget meetings for us to get this across the finish line and signed and submitted to the state by July 15th.
So we would only have one meeting in July. We wouldn't have two. We wouldn't do two back to back.
I mean, unless we just schedule, so I guess we could do July, we do July 28th. Yeah, because then we end up with 2 weeks in a row. Just based on the dates. I'm fine with one meeting in July. I know we're going to have a lot going on this summer between the teacher training that's going on, the contemplation exercise. If we can keep it to one board meeting in July, I think it might actually help a lot of people out. And as long as the budget gets done, then I think we've done what we need to do.
Okay, well, I will get this with these changes, including the 323 change onto the bigger schedule that I put out that has all of the dates. So our board meetings and all the school dates, I'll get that all put together and send that out again so everyone can have access to that.
And is that something Laura can put on the Parent Square calendar, and Ms. Deb could put on the school calendar?
Yep.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, stop sharing that. Okay, last thing for the evening is the discussion and approval of the minutes of our previous meeting, which was April 21st. 21st. Thank you. All right, so I will move to approve the minutes of our April 21st meeting. Is that the one where we had an executive session?
Yes.
Yeah. So both the regular and executive session portion.
Second.
Thank you, Danielle. Any discussion? All right,
No.
all those in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Sorry, Kristen, your vote won't count tonight. But we're glad to know you're listening. All right. So that said, that brings us to the end of our meeting. So thanks everyone for being here. I will move to adjourn the meeting. Oh wait, sorry, there's one last thing we have to do. And I can't believe I missed it because this came up in our 5-year interval review. We need to move to accept the results of tonight's election. So I'm going to do that. So I will move to accept the results of tonight's board member election of Kristen Kubina and Nellie Grossenbacher.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? That's unanimous. The motion carries. All right, now I will move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, unanimous. All right, Danielle, do you have the agenda handy? Could you read the closing verse tonight?
Not handy, but maybe 2 seconds.
Okay.
Three seconds. Ah. Okay. Thank you for the patience. Appreciate it very much.
It's as though you work in customer service, Danielle.
Your call is important to me. Please stand by. The most important tasks for humankind today and in the future is that we should learn to live together and understand one another. If this human fellowship is not achieved, all talk of development is empty. Rudolf Steiner.
All right. Thank you, Danielle, for reading that, and thank you, everybody, for being here with us tonight. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.